Erislandy Lara retains his WBA light middleweight, or super welterweight as they're calling it these days, world title with a 12-round unanimous decision win in a rematch over Martirosyan. Now, just like the Charlo Trout fight, I think the scores here were too wide. Yeah, it was unanimous for Lara, but the scores were too wide. They were like 116, 111 and all that type of stuff. Nah, no way. I think this fight was a lot closer than that. Don't get it twisted. Lara was landing the majority of clean punches throughout the fight, but he was very inactive in some of the rounds and was being outworked by Martirosyan, who was also landing headshots here and there. So I do personally feel the scores were too wide. As far as the performance, it was quite similar to the first fight. I think these guys, as the commentators were saying, they're always going to be in competitive fights. Anytime you match them together, it's always going to be competitive. Nobody's going to really dominate the other guy. They're just that, compatible in terms of fighting styles, where they're always going to make for a competitive fight and a fairly entertaining fight as well. Because Lara normally is quite boring to watch most of the time. But whenever he fights Martirosyan, this is the second time, he seems to be a lot more aggressive. He seems to hold his feet a lot more than normal and trade far more when he fights Martirosyan than he does against other guys. So, yeah, it was a decent fight. Nothing amazing, but it was a decent enough fight to watch. And Lara with his slick defensive skills. Lara really is the slickest, most awkward and tricky guy to fight at 154 pounds. There's no question about it. And you just compare the way Lara fought against Canelo to the way Amir Khan fought against Canelo. Now, we all know that Khan is so fast and he's athletic and this, that, and the other. He's a good combination puncher. How come he couldn't avoid what Lara could avoid? Lara is just way, way slicker than a guy like Amir Khan. Way better defensively, better movement. May not, his hands are probably not as fast as Khan's. Definitely not as fast as Khan's, but overall his movement and defense is way better than Amir Khan, and he's tougher as well. It's not like Lara has an iron jaw. He's been down in fights, but his actual body is tougher. If you saw Khan in that Canelo fight, Khan was getting slowed down with body shots. By the 5th round, Khan was noticeably slowing because of the body shots that Canelo was hitting him with. But Canelo hit Lara with those same body shots for a full 12 rounds. But Lara hardly slowed down at all. His physical body is just tougher than Khan's. And here again, against Martirosyan was hitting Lara with plenty of body shots, but he didn't really seem to take that much effect on Lara. So his trunk, his torso, even though it's very slender, is obviously very tough. Lara, because body shots don't seem to take it out of this guy the way they should. And Canelo is was a heavy-handed light middleweight. He was hitting Erislandy Lara all up in the rib cage, and Lara was still running. He wasn't able to slow him down with it. So yeah, Lara is an awkward, tricky, slick fighter, and I always felt from a stylistic point of view that if there was anyone who may be able to beat Floyd Mayweather at 154 pounds, it would be a guy like an Erislandy Lara or Demetrius Andrade. Even one of those guys, I personally think would have a very good chance of beating Floyd Mayweather. So yeah, stylistically, very awkward guy, not an exciting guy. Lara, you're really gonna have to be a very good pressure fighter to put it on this guy and force him into an exciting fight. Otherwise, it's going to be one of those typical sterile, jab, jab, move, left hand type situations, type outcomes from Erislandy Lara. I've spoken in the post-fight videos of both of the Charlo brothers about the whole title situation at 154. That it's unlikely for us to see unifications, even though we would want to see them. It's unlikely at this moment. But maybe there's a possibility of Lara against Liam Smith. Maybe there's a possibility of Lara facing somebody at middleweight. He said that he'd like a rematch with Canelo, And now Canelo has vacated his WBC middleweight title. Will Canelo drop back down again? Will he take a rematch against Lara? Is it financially viable enough for Canelo? Will Canelo go for one of the other middleweight champions now he ain't the WBC champion? Who knows? Will Lara pursue that fight with Golovkin? He's been talking about fighting Golovkin. Some people are saying it's just Lara trying to keep his name relevant. Every time he's got a fight coming up, he starts talking about Gennady Golovkin. But, you know, then again, Lara's not really in the public eye other than when he's got a fight coming up, if you get what I'm saying. So when else would he call Gennady Golovkin out? He's going to call him out when he's leading up to a fight, because that's when people are interviewing him. Outside of fight time, who the hell is calling out? I mean, who the hell is talking about Erislandy Lara? Nobody. It's only around his fights that people even mention his name. You know, that's the only time that journalists really want to speak to him. So particularly with the fact that he don't speak English, he only speaks Spanish. So anytime a journalist wants to interview him, if they don't speak Spanish, they need an interpreter, and that's not always available. So, you know, it is what it is. So we'll see where Lara goes from here, what he does. What did you think about the performance of Lara? Some people thought that Martirosyan won. I saw a couple people saying they had Martirosyan winning the fight maybe by a round. And I don't know, scoring is subjective, and there was a lot of close rounds in the fight. I can't really argue with that, to be honest with you. One thing I can say for sure, in my opinion, the scores are way too wide. That's one thing I can say. But yeah, how did you have it scored, people? And let me know what you think about everything I talked about in this video. Who would you like to see Lara fight? Would you like to see him fight those Charlo brothers? How will they resolve the fact that they've got the same trainer? Who's going to change their trainer? Because nobody's going to want to change trainer. They're all going to want to keep running Shields. So who's going to have to bite the bullet and change trainer if they do fight each other? And how do you think Liam Smith would do against Erislandy Lara? How do you think Lara would do against either of the Charlo brothers? How do you think Lara would do in a rematch with Canelo or against Triple G? Me personally, I think Lara against Triple G, I mean, can't see Lara winning that fight. Can't see him lasting the distance, to be honest. He is slick. Let's not get it confused. He's very slippery. He's more fast and slick and slippery than anybody Triple G's fought. But you have to imagine that eventually Triple G is going to start tagging him, and he is a lot more powerful than Alfredo Angulo. Believe you me. So yeah, those are my thoughts. Let me know yours. It's your boy Hatman. I'm out.